Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. It's Newcastle 1, Manchester United 1. One of the worst performances I think we've all seen, and it's getting in a regular routine that when we come on the fan forum, that's the first thing that we say. And this is Manchester United, meant to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, got a new manager in, meant to be changing, and the performances are simply depressing. They're abysmal. This Newcastle team is basically bottom. Norwich have a game in hand on them. The bottom of the pile. They've been terrible all season, and we make them look like they're a great team. Looks like a team that are fighting for top four. Never mind relegation battle. The way that we made them look. Overall, a dreadful game, dreadful attitude. Gary Neville hit it right on the head when he said whinging, team of whingers. And I just think the attitude, the way that we play, the chemistry, the leadership, everything about that game was dreadful for me. We should have got beat. Feels like a loss. And this is a team that's fighting for top four, and they can't even manage to do that. And look at the players that we've got in that team. I mean, let's just get straight into it, guys. Jay, I mean, there's a lot that you can say, but where initially did it go wrong for you today? Just getting straight into it.
Where do we start? Well, first of all, it went wrong when Scott McSideways and the fake Brazilian started yet again midfield. Clearly, they're putting up worldies on a training ground because they certainly aren't doing it in a pitch. I know a lot of us give Fred some plaudits the last couple of weeks, but today Fred was back to the old Fred. Scott was doing Scott McTominay things, which is nothing of note. And it's back to what I've said in the show many times, the aforementioned Max Scheidt, bust sofa number one. And I felt today, I tweeted out, I felt today we looked like one of those punch-drunk heavyweight boxers, you know, slumbering around the ring, no aggression, no intensity, no emotion, disinterested. So is it a case that the last 16 days that Radnick has trained the players so intensively that today they left their best legs on a training ground in Carrington and were just leggy today? Or am I giving Radnick too much of a benefit of the doubt because I really want this to work? Or is it a case that these players, guys, simply are not good enough? David De Gea today, 7 saves, 3 world-class saves. Again, we said it many times about David De Gea. Where are we? Newcastle today, again, you better lose to it, Beth. They look like the team they're chasing top four, not steering relegation down the nose. They were by far the better side. And, you know, when a player like John Joe Shelvey looks like prime Iniesta, something is definitely wrong with your midfield. I can go on and on and on. But this is just. I honestly thought, right, that when Solskjaer was sacked, that we had left the therapy stand in the past. And here we are. Apart from 30 minutes against Palace, we're back where we were with the therapy stand. So I am going to play the caveat of, and I'm, keep myself somewhat grounded. And I'm going to say maybe the players were overtrained the last 16 days and hadn't recovered and left their legs at a training ground. I am going to use that as a caveat.
I mean, Kev, countless times we've said it seems like every team plays like it's a cup final against us. Norwich have been garbage all season. We made them look somewhat good last time we played them, which was the last game we played, which is worrying. Newcastle, bottom of the pile, been terrible all season. Picked up no points against the top 6, apart from us. I mean, we're not even in the top 6 anymore, so you can't even count that. And they've won 1 game all season. And we make them look amazing. Is it time to stop saying it's teams turn up against Manchester United? Or is it simply just the fact that teams know they can get a result against us? And the simple fact is, we're just not good enough.
Teams can identify Manchester United. We can pick the bones off it and look at it. When really, in reality, teams are looking at our team, the starting 11, and going, right, Fred and McTominay in the middle there. You've got John Joe Shelvey. Get him stuck in there. Get him firing a few challenges in. And all other managers are doing, like Eddie Howe today, is just identifying Manchester United's weak points and exploiting them. And that's what you should do in football now. The bad thing is at Manchester United at the minute is the fact that there's so many players that just get exploited game by game. And like Jay correctly said, we've had 30 minutes maybe against Crystal Palace where we all sat back and went, ooh, this could be interesting. Bit of pressing, you know, this 4-2-2-2 or whatever. We'd never seen that before. And it was something to get excited about. But in theory, it is exactly the same. Nothing's changed. And for me, it's a mentality issue. It's the players. And it's fully down to them. I don't know. I know Jay's saying that he'll let them ride this one out or whatever, because yes, they might have been coached. The training could be intense and that. It's the same players in this team. The likes of, I'm sorry, I thought Rashford was absolutely abysmal today. Harry Maguire, how he can even wear that armband is an absolute disgrace. There is no leaders on that pitch. There is absolutely nothing. And I think Jay said before we started, but probably the only team in the world that could probably make Ronaldo kind of look average. And he was a frustrated figure today. And that is worrying to see.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, though. It's like, I would take that excuse that maybe they've been trained too hard that's why we got the performance we've got today. But by that Crystal Palace performance, we have been seeing these performances, whether it's Ollie or Rangnick in the Norwich game, in the Young Boys game, week in, week out. We've been seeing dreadful performances. We've been winning it through moments because we've got players that deep down do have the technical ability. Well, some of them, I'm starting to doubt others, I'm not going to lie. Jordan, when you look at that team lineup today, what was your first thoughts? And then when you started to watch the game, what did you make of it? Did you think along the same lines as Ralphie's? I need to change this at half-time ASAP. Was there any players you were surprised that was starting, wasn't starting? And overall, how do you think that lineup affected just the overall start and tone of the game?
Yeah, I can't believe we're back here, guys. I can't believe
it's so frustrating.
It's literally Groundhog Day, except I've just got a belly full of turkey. Like, look, going back to the team, when the team came out, I was disappointed to see McFred in there, but wasn't surprised. I thought Sancho would have started over Rashford because I just don't think Rashford's played very well. But what we've seen, or what we saw today, is a team that don't seem to have bought into the new philosophy and just straight away reverted to type. The John Joe thing doesn't surprise me. He's been doing that to Man United when he was at Liverpool, when he was at Swansea. He raises his game against us and always plays like he's got a point to prove. What surprised me was Joelinton. He played like out of his skin in the middle of that.
I wish he was in our midfield.
And bullied our central midfielders. That was embarrassing. Really, really embarrassing. I think the only 2+ points that we can take out of that game is, number one, Ralph was willing to make changes at halftime. Because as we were going into halftime, I was like, if he doesn't make any changes, I'm calling him out. And he made changes. And the other thing is, I thought David De Gea once again was absolutely outstanding and really is back to his very best. I think we said when the new manager came in, everybody would get a clean slate and would give everybody a chance. I think what we've realised already in the space of a couple of games is that there is no quick fix, and the players that were bad and we got to a point where it was time to move them on, it's still going to be time to move them on. There's nobody that suddenly is just going to get a brand new lease of life and, you know, completely change our thought processes. I think the players that should have gone into Ollie still need to go. The transfer window opens up next Saturday, and I hope there's movement behind the scenes to get bodies out and get bodies in. Because you look at the run of games we got, we talk about, you know, games in hand and maybe points on the board is better than games in hand, something that Sarek used to always say. If we can't turn over Newcastle after the 16-day break, we have got massive, massive problems for the rest of the season, guys.
Massive problems, massive. And you talk about transfers there, and you talk about getting players out that need to go. Jay, Martial, he wants to go, not started today. Lingard, he wants to go, not started today. Eric Bailly, constantly pushed out, not started today. Donny van der Beek, apparently he's valued, again doesn't get a chance, not started today. Paul Pogba wants to leave, apparently he's a problem, not started today. None of them players are on the pitch. The players that are on the pitch today are all players that supposedly want to play for Man United. I mean, if you want to play for Man United, you better work harder than that. I should show a better attitude than that. Where does this stand? We're letting go players that have been blamed continuously, while me looking at it, a lot of average players are still getting a free pass and are going to continue to start in the starting 11. How worrying is that?
Yeah, it's very worrying. And I hoped against hope. I gave Radnick a lot of kudos. Yeah, he's going to come in. He's going to kick ass, take names. I used the phrase that Camp Carrington is closed for business. He won't play any more favourites. Marcus Rashford, again, like a ghost in the pitch. I can't get over how he started. He played 90 minutes. I was shocked. He was terrible. Harry Maguire, we'll go into him later because you do a whole show on that gobshite. Fred and Matomale, like where do I went in on them already, so I'm not going to waste any more airtime on those two. And as Kevin pointed out, like we're so bad, we make Ronaldo look average. Cavani came on, did Cavani things, shaped things up a little bit, but Cavani today he missed two, I thought, gilt edge opportunities to win the game.
Yeah.
It's like, where do we go? It's like, how many of these players are actually up for the fight? First of all, I think very, very few. I think to a lot of these players, I think the fans and watching have to realize, to a lot of these players, this is a job. This is their profession. They don't have the same love and emotion and compassion for the club as we have as fans. And it's been manifested on the pitch. It was manifested towards the latter end of the Jose Mourinho regime. It's been obviously manifested toward the latter end of the Oliver regime. And now all of a sudden we have a new manager in. We call up the previous manager for being tactically inept, not making subs, poor training, poor coaching, blah, blah, blah. Well, the new coaches are there. We have a tactically astute manager, but yet we're getting the same shocking performances from the same players. And yet then there are certain players that we all call as fans that will go out of the club. But then somebody like Donny van de Beek, who, okay, he's a solid 6 out of 10. He needs a string of games to go to a 7 or 8. And Eric Bailly again, he hasn't put a foot wrong since he's played. Surely, he should have played today instead of Varane. Varane looks so ring rusty.
Guys,
so where do you go from there, guys? You know?
Just
guys, we know Bailly and Ahmad are at AFCON, and we know that Pogba can't play, but we're just saying these players are continuously not starters, and these players are, and we're not getting better results. That's what we're trying to say here.
I think what was even more concerning, guys, was just the body language and the level of petulance of the amount of, yellow cards and fouls that we picked up today. That to me was a team that wasn't playing for a new manager. There was no manager bounce. There was no like trying to impress the guy on the sideline. They literally reverted to type. It was literally like a continuation. Like even forget the Carrick trilogy of games. That was like, forget that. That was like just straight back to Ollie era, Ollie ball. It's massively, massively concerning. And the Sharks are already circling for Rangnick. Like he really, really needs to start making some decisions and putting his touch on this team. I know we're sitting back and we're saying it's the players, we can't keep blaming the manager and whatnot. But what is he changing? Because McFred is still in there. Harry's still captain and still getting picked. Rashford's still getting picked. It is all the same. So, we've had a couple of games now for him to give these players the opportunity to take on his philosophy. Well, now Burnley, he needs to make changes because these players are clearly not responding to him. So he's got to stand up and be counted for himself.
I agree. And when you speak about attitude, Kev, and Gary Neville, I think summed it up perfectly. I know not everyone's agreed with him at times, but he said we're whinging too much. The attitude isn't there. There's no togetherness. And I thought myself, as a leader of the club, and we know Varane made mistakes today. He was just as bad. Maguire and Varane were both bad. But Maguire is continuously playing regular football and he's continuously not improving. And apart from that, he's captain of this club. All the whinging, throwing your arms up in the air, the lack of togetherness, the lack of chemistry, the fact that nobody looks like they know what they're doing, a lot of that falls on the lack of leadership and the lack of respect. The captain should be the one that's saying something to the ref, that's moaning. It shouldn't be every player throwing the arms up in the air, blaming each other. Do you think, one, there's a lack of leadership, and two, do you think these players just need to stop moaning and get their heads down and focus on themselves and focus as playing as part of a team? It's
a total lack of discipline. And the thing that I've hated about Manchester United for so long is what we would probably call these prima donnas. Now, there was a lot of it today from what I've seen on that field where they were like children throwing the toys out of the pram. And you knocked the nail on the head there. If we're talking about leadership, Harry Maguire is not a leader. Now, I know for a fact that back in the days of when Roy Keane used to follow through on a player, put, you know, a reducer in on someone to get the crowd going, he did that because he was absolutely fantastic at doing it and he knew it would get the crowd going and that. The difference with it today was when Harry Maguire did it out on the sideline, the only reason he did it is because another touch, you know, and the player's clear of him and Harry Maguire has not got the pace to get anywhere near it. So Harry Maguire doesn't set the tone for the game. He is certainly not a leader. I don't look at the likes of Ronaldo in that dressing room looking at Harry Maguire and going, you know, what a man, you know, this guy. If anything, I said it when United signed Ronaldo, he will figure certain players out in this dressing room. And it's definitely getting to that point. The worrying thing today was Ronaldo's attitude, and you could tell he was absolutely fuming. He's a winner, you know, Ballon d'Ors. He's won the absolute lot. And he's come back to Manchester United. It was his dream to do it or whatever. But by Christ, he must be looking and thinking the standards, you know, in the 10 years or whatever he's been away from Manchester United have fallen spectacularly, big time.
I think
and his face was all of us watching the game. That's what everyone was saying. And it's just like, it must be so frustrating to not, we have to watch that football, but a player like Ronaldo, who does get a higher level of respect because we know what his game is and we know how good he is and we know what he could bring to the team if he had better players that were playing better around him. It must be so frustrating to be constantly making runs, constantly asking for the ball. He's pressing as well, more than a lot of the other players now, and you're constantly getting hospital passes. I mean, Jordan, when you look at the lack of chemistry, for me, when you looked at the front line in the final third, it was so static. A lot of the time, McTominay or Bruno or Maguire would have the ball. And yes, the passes weren't great, but there was no one making an option for them. And then when we did pass the ball, it would be an awful ball. The movement would be wrong. The chemistry is not there. Do you think that's players as a team? Do you think we're just not a team right now? Or do you think that Ralph Rangnick has some serious work to do when it comes to the basics, which is just keeping possession and not constantly having this turnover of possession and counterattacks?
I think today was the day that Rangnick realizes how big a job he's got. Yeah, we're a big club, but now he's realized how big the actual job is that he's got to turn this team around. And he will be asking himself, you know, like, where do I even begin? I think the concern for Ronaldo is that Ronaldo wasn't getting frustrated at your Freds and your McTominays. He's looking at your Sanchos, your Brunos, your Delos and people like that. And like, what the hell are you doing? Your Rashford, like, how are you not playing the ball in the area that it needs to be played to? And that is the concern, is that the big names, the big players, the players that are on big money and big fees, they're not interlinking, and that is a major problem for us. Sancho, when he came on, I'm sorry guys, like, I know he showed us glimpses since he's come to us, but he was awful when he came on today. Like, really wasn't good. Again, Fred in the first half, you know, shocking. And I know Jay said, you know, yeah, we've given the benefit of the doubt. The last couple of games he showed, you know, promise or whatnot. The bottom line is he's not going to be good enough over the course of a full season. He will show us glimpses, and, you know, as a squad player, I'm sure he can come in. There's so many areas of that team I look at and it needs to be smashed, taken apart, and just start again. But again, we keep asking the same things. There's players, you know, like you're saying, your Van de Beek we keep talking about, but there's players that need to get a chance and are still not getting a chance under the new manager. So what is going on behind the scenes? Are the board putting the handcuffs on and saying you can't make these changes, you've got to play these players? I don't know, because everything you read and look at about for Rangnick, how he wants to play ball, this is not how he wants to play ball. So when is he going to actually put his touch on this team?
Jay, when I looked at the game today and I saw McFred starting against bottom of the league Newcastle, I'm not going to lie, I was extremely disappointed. And then when I saw Fred was subbed off for Sancho, I thought, you know what? All right, we're going more attackingly here. And then when you see that McTominay was subbed off for Matic, I thought, again, Donny is bottom of the pile. I think to myself, what could it be? Because we can all see. But then you've had Ollie, you've had Ralph, you've had you've had people that are rating these players over him, but then consistently on the pitch, we're getting poor performances from these players. When you think about Fred and McTominay, who were so inconsistent, particularly Fred, he was awful today. Offensively, he offered nothing. Defensively, he offered nothing. If a player that he's meant to be there to be playing that role, that box-to-box role like he was supposed to do today, he's offering you nothing both ways. Do you not think that is a prime opportunity to try and embed Donny van de Beek into this team when you know that Fred isn't going to be good enough over a course of a season, like Jordan said? And not only when it comes to Fred, it's like the attacking side of it. We've got all these attackers, but Cavani and Ronaldo, the only two that seem to turn up. And it's like these players need to be rotated more. They need to see the bench.
How would I put this, Beth? I think of something here to sum this up. Okay. When I raced bikes as a professional in Spain and Portugal and all over Northern Europe, we had an expression for a rider that was phenomenal in training. I mean, in training, they were killing everybody. But when it came to a competitive event, they just couldn't produce. So the expression was, he trains like Tarzan and races like Jane. I can always surmise that McFred, they must be Iniesta and Busquets quality in training. And Harry Maguire, he must be prime Cannavaro in training. Marcus Rashford, he has got to be Wayne Rooney in training, because none of them are doing it on the pitch, and they haven't done it in such a long time. Now, none of us know what's happening in training, obviously, because we're not privy to it. I'd love to be there. But Donny van de Beek, from what we've seen in him in matches, he's cool on the ball, he's composed. I know he was responsible for conceding the goal against the young boys, but straight away he had his hands up, he acknowledged it, he moved on, had a decent game after that. But when he's played for us, he's been 6.5 out of 10, consistent, not fantastic, but consistent. But the likes of a Rashford, a Maguire, a McFred, they've been shocking. So, as Jordan pointed out there, how much power, we have to question now, does the manager have over team selection? We've all lauded the fact that, you know, you've got the tactical street managers come in, he won't take any crap from the powers above, finding a football man, he brings in his own staff. But it's not been manifested on the pitch. So therefore, I think now we have to question, either does he not have the power to make these big calls, drop the so-called the media darlings, and Rashford is clearly a media darling. I don't care what he does off the pitch, it's irrelevant to me. It's what you do on the pitch, but he's not doing it. So can Radnick drop the media darlings, or is it a case that the players simply yet have not responded to his new methods? Or thirdly, are they simply not good enough to play in his system?
And
it's one of the three, guys. It's one of the three.
That's the crazy thing, because I know I joked when I said about Solskjaer was in charge. Did he have the big balls to make the big calls? Now, Michael Carrick only had 3 games in charge of Manchester United. In one of them, he dropped Bruno Fernandes, and in the other, he dropped Cristiano Ronaldo. So I look at that and I thought, but you know, that is a massive, massive call. And there was a big Champions League game in the mix there, and that Michael Carrick did it. But yet now Rangnick's like back in, and it is, like Jordan said, Groundhog Day. The worrying thing for me with Manchester United is the summer, which was not long ago. When you think back to that day when we brought Varane out on the pitch and we were all like, what a touch of class. Ronaldo followed with Sancho, great summer, and we were all crying out for a midfielder. Now, at that point, I'm thinking, if we get a decent midfielder in here, we are challenging. And I'm not just getting giddy by saying that. The worrying thing now is seeing how Manchester United's gone. There's been absolutely no progression on the pitch. And I'm willing to give Rangnick time. I give Solskjaer 3 years, which was a hell of a long time at Manchester United. The worrying thing at the minute is I think we're years away. And only at the start of the season, months ago, I'm talking about a title challenge. I look at Manchester City, who went to Newcastle and annihilated Newcastle.
Night and day, Kev. It's night and day.
Yeah. They walked in there, tickled the belly, did whatever, just got the job done. See you later. We're out of there, ruthless. And that is the difference. We're trying to get back to, that level. The likes of even Liverpool, Chelsea, who can do it. They can grind out results. They just blow teams away. When's the last time we did that? And I know people say Leeds at the start of the season, Newcastle.
Leeds have been awful.
Yeah. And even when we played Newcastle at the start of the season, they did exactly what they did to us today at Old Trafford. It's probably just because they had the crowd on their side kind of today that they were a bit more up for it. But Old Trafford, they ran through our midfield in that second half. It could have been 4-4 that game. Easily.
Guys, forget Man United, forget Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, West Ham.
Yeah.
Mate, it's frightening. I'm telling you, it's frightening. We're in a whole world of trouble, guys. We really are. I just think Rangnick needs to look at it now. He hasn't got the players that can play the system he wants to play. So he needs to work with what he's got and start getting the best out of these players and start making some changes. It clearly isn't working. He's got to realise how big a job he's got and start making some decisions. Because if it comes to Burnley in a couple of days' time and he rolls out the same teams, I need to have words with him because things are not right.
I've just got a couple of super chats to do here, guys. Sid T says the only time we had semblance of control was for the 20 minutes in the second half when we went back to a 4-2-3-1. These players clearly don't know the new system. And then David Harris as well. The club culture is broken. Good players come into United and become mediocre. Might be the pay structure, wages too high. And you know what, Jordan, on that, Cavani, who's on a good wage at Manchester United and is the ultimate professional, steps onto that pitch. And his attitude, his work rate is 10 times above some of the other players on that pitch. 10 times it. And for me, it just shows, when he comes on, it shows how far off a lot of these players are. And you know what? Mentality and work rate, there's a lot to say for that when it comes to being an athlete and when it comes to sport and competition. And then as well, with the new system, I mean, we'll all talk about this in a minute, but is this system, can it work with these players? Because I mean, you talk about time to implement a system, and to properly implement a system, it takes a while, but you would think that we would be playing it like at least showing some resemblance of it so far.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to put Cavani into the same bracket as Jay puts Eric Bailly in. You have to play the man till he breaks. You have to. He has to be on the pitch. He's one of our best players, and when fit, he's got so much to offer that team. And if that's at the expense of Rashford or even Greenwood at the moment, it's got to be done. That has to happen. It's embarrassing that, at his age, he's still running around, shutting players down, and other players around him are not following suit. I think he is a player that leads by example and doesn't need the armband to do it. And Maguire wearing that armband should be ashamed looking at somebody like Cavani and seeing that level of passion that he puts into his performances.
And this is a guy that supposedly wants to leave. And when I said on the last fan forum that I'd want Cavani to stay, everyone was like, Beth, why are you begging a player to stay that doesn't want to play for us? This guy is different levels to a lot of what we have. And even if he wants to leave the club, he'll still put in 10 times more of a shift than a lot of the other players. And that's what people need to recognise when it comes to him. I mean, Jay, the fullbacks today got a little bit of stick, especially Dalot, dealing with St. Maximin, an excellent winger. I mean, if he went to a top club, God knows what he could do. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's Newcastle's only hope in some respects. And he did get twisted and turned. Some people are saying, why haven't we got Wan-Bissaka, etc., etc. Overall, for you, I don't think we should put in certain players in to deal with the opposite team. We should be playing our system and going with it how it works. When it comes to Dalot and his defensive work, I mean, you see it at Liverpool with Trent. He's not the most defensive fullback, but he plays in a system where he doesn't have to be. Do you think overall he can continue playing in that system if we come up against teams that have got that winger that can kind of give him a run for his money?
Today was the first time that Dalot played beside Varane. Okay, so that partnership between Varane and Dalot, that needs time to bed in, first of all. Dalot's cross was instrumental in was getting equaliser, Cavani. Mm-hmm. I would argue Wan-Bissaka does not have that cross in his locker. No. Yes, Wan-Bissaka would possibly do better against St. Maximin, because Wan-Bissaka is a very physical fullback. Dalot isn't a physical fullback yet. But Dalot, over the course of the season, can develop physically, and he needs time to develop a partnership with Varane. So I saw on Twitter a lot of the fans going in today on the low getting twisted by St. Maxima. But Harry Maguire for the first goal, I used the term statue regarding Harry Maguire. He was just like a schoolboy passenger. St. Maxima later on in the game, he even twisted and turned Varane. So to your point, Beth, and you're spot on. A player like St. Maxima could easily play for any top 4 team in Europe. I would argue he's a very good player, and I hope he doesn't languish with Newcastle for much longer. He's an excellent player. So it's very wrong of fans today to go in on the low based on a performance against a baller that is St. Maxima. Like another game, for argument's sake, it could be the low up against what's that nippy young wing back from Brighton? His name escapes me now. Lamptey. Yeah, Lamptey would make bits of Maguire. He'd make bits of Delo. That's just a physical player running at you and turning you. That's their game. So I think you've got to, as I say, you've got to give the partnership between Delo and Varane time to bed in. And today, lads, Jesus, talk about ring rusty. Varane today looked like he hadn't played football in 3 months. He looked so rusty.
He looks like he hadn't kicked a football before.
Yeah, he did.
He came to his passing as well.
He did.
Varane
like, we go on about Phil Jones and Phil Jones playing like he's like Bambi on ice. Well, today we had a French Bambi on ice because I think Varane today was shocking. He was like we're going to call out Maguire, we're going to call out McFred. We got to call out Varane as well, guys. We got to be fair. But there's mitigating factors. He hadn't played in quite a couple of weeks.
Bruno.
But I think the difference is
Bruno.
We're all confident that in a game or two, Varane will get back up to speed.
Yeah,
I don't think Harry Maguire is ever getting back up to speed.
Well, this is the thing that we talk about when you look at Varane.
Speed and Maguire in the same sentence? Surely not.
When you look at Varane in his past, he's been a top centre half. He's got the experience to back it up. He's got the Champions League medal. He's got the stature to come into a club. You look at Harry Maguire and it feels like you just keep going in on him. But what's he got behind him realistically?
Relegations. He's got relegations, and you guys discussed his leadership. You can't use speed in the same sentence, Harry Maguire, and you definitely can't use leadership in the same sentence. But he's the captain, and as you said, Kevin, you've got likes of Ronaldo or a Cavani that have won anything that's winning in world football, and the captain is Harry fucking Maguire. Pardon my French. Give me a break.
And you know, this is another thing that annoys me at Manchester United at the minute, and I really do put it down to modern day footballers, right? Where's the fight and the spirit of when somebody like, let's go back to Ibrahimovic walks in at Manchester United. Now, if I'm at Manchester United and I'm a young lad, I'd be like, oh my God, Ibrahimovic is coming to United. As a young lad, you don't look at that and fear for your place in the team. I'd be like, I want to see how this guy trains. I want to get into his mind. I want to watch him in training every day. I want to play with him. The same with when Cavani come to Manchester United. And yet you always get these little stories like, whether it, I don't know, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial. Why is there never any like, you know, I want to learn from this guy. Everything's always, my place is under threat and this and that. Competition, surely, at Manchester United has to be healthy. And I think it's an easy way out for a lot of youngsters these days. I think they get far too much early on in their careers that they just sort of get to a point. And even Martial, I'm not even bothered. You know what I mean? He come out the other day and he's like, I've been there 7 years. I want to go. And it's like, right, nice one. See you later. You know, that's great. What a comment to come out with. If he wants to go, let him go, innit? But the thing I will say on Cavani, what a professional. And I know he might have stated or through the media that he wants to go to Barcelona or anything. You put him on that pitch like Manchester United did today. His professionalism is never, ever in doubt. Whether he's looking at getting out of Manchester United or whatever, you put him on the pitch, you will always get 100% from him. You'll get fight, performance. He'll chase down absolutely everything, which is, you can't say that about many of the other sort of front three at Manchester United.
No, see how much the goal meant to him as well. The celebration meant everything.
Exactly. The celebrations just show the passion as well. It's just, It's disappointing actually that not everybody in that team has that mentality. I mean, you'd think if you played for Manchester United, you would, and maybe over the course of time, a lot of people have lost it. But the coaching hasn't been there under previous managers. There's been a lot of chopping and changing, like we just spoke on Diogo Dalot. I personally think he has a lot more contributing factors to be a top right back. When I look at the modern game, the Wan-Bissaka does. Of course, Wan-Bissaka's defensive ability when it comes to tackling and closing players down, such as wingers like Ansett Maximum, is better. But do you know what? You can't just throw Dalot in for a few games, and as soon as he has a little bit of a shaky performance, take him out completely. You've got to give him some time, like Jay said, to build relationships. And do you know what? Players do deserve a chance, and there's a lot of players that deserve a chance. Fair enough if they've been consistently poor, like a lot of the players in that team have been. But you know what? When someone first comes into a team and they've showed a little bit of something, they deserve that chance. And sometimes that can result in bad performances as well. Literally just coming into a team and thinking, oh, this guy's going to come straight back in. They need to be given that chance. And if they're not good enough, then they're not good enough. But guys, we are going to move on to Bruno because a lot of people in the comments have been talking about him. A lot of people on social media have been talking about him. I mean, Jordan, I'll come to you first. Bruno Fernandes, for me, I still love him as a player. I do think he's a world-class midfielder, and I think he's got a lot of talent. His form recently hasn't been up there. I do think today when you watch him, just a lot of the times just hoofing the ball and losing possession, it's so frustrating to watch. But then I look at the lack of movement up front, and I don't understand it because I still don't think you should do it. But there is no movement for him to kind of try and pick out a pass. That ball to Dalot came from him, an excellent ball. And when he dropped deeper, I actually think he linked up the play a lot better. I think I saw Mark actually tweet that out earlier, and I thought to myself, do you know what? He has played better since he's dropped into that midfield role. What is your take on Bruno at the moment? What do you think needs to be done about him? And do you think we need to change his game a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to have. Sorry, a little bit of COVID. Don't worry about it. COVID. You're killing me.
United fans going to get locked down.
Right. I think he set the bar so high coming into our team that if he goes a couple of games and doesn't get a goal contribution in any kind of capacity, people are there to dig him out. And I found it amazing that in our fan base, there's fans who don't support somebody as good as Bruno. If he goes through any form of patch where he isn't performing, it's madness. I think you're 100% right. As soon as he dropped back, he started passing balls and that pass. So the pass before the assist, there's very few players in the league that could have hit that pass, and Bruno is one of them. Yeah, I love him. I think he's absolutely great. I think he came into our team at a time where we were rock bottom. I think the issue is that other players haven't come in and had a similar impact to really help him. Sancho was supposed to be one of those players to take the pressure off someone like Bruno, and he hasn't. We paid a lot of money for Sancho, so that's somebody we should be looking at and saying, well, what's going on with you? Rashford, that's someone else we should be looking at. I don't think everybody should be throwing shade at Bruno. I think there's a great player in there, and it is on the manager. If he isn't playing well, bring him out, give him a rest, take him out of the firing line, and then bring him back in. But these fans that are absolutely throwing shade at Bruno at any time he has a couple of bad games, they just piss me off, to be honest.
I agree. I think every player goes through a bad patch of form, and the way he's played over the past couple of years for us, I mean, people are so quick to turn, and I think there's a lot more to come from Bruno Fernandes. And I'll just throw this one out to you both. Kev and Jay, Jordan, get involved.
Sorry, one other point on that. I just thought of something. He also played under Ollie when he's coming to this team, who didn't have any form of system and just said, go on there and win the game. So all these $1 million passes that he's trying,
that's what he's used to.
Yeah, that's what he's used to going out and doing, and no one's told him otherwise. He's now got to try and get his head into a system and try and play that system. So that's for him to develop within that system, if that makes sense.
There's been a complete lack of discipline with everyone on the team and a complete lack of coaching for so long. That's why we're seeing how much work that needs to be done. And just putting this out there to everyone right now, we're playing with them 2 10s at the moment. If we carry on with that formation, I thought Rashford in midfield was not was not a good idea today. I'm not going to lie. I also think Sancho, he's definitely had glimpses, but he's not been completely undroppable. You look at someone like Paul Pogba, who's coming back from injury, and we know how well he can play in that advanced position. We saw how well Pogba and Bruno have played together in advanced positions. Do you think that he could be key player coming into this team, possibly in that position? And could that help take the workload off Bruno? Because I saw that game today with Rashford in the midfield, and there was no passes coming from the midfield because McTominay and Fred can't do it, and it's all on Bruno, and he just has no options half of the time. Is Pogba someone that could come in and change that dynamic?
Who wants to take that?
Okay, look, today Bruno essentially he's playing left wing for the first half, and he's got the two Ballon d'Or 2023 candidates, Max Scheidt behind him in midfield. They're not going to create anything, are they? And then the frustration and the wanton lack of discipline, passing wise, displayed by Max Scheidt, manifests in Bruno. Bruno throws his towels to the pram and starts moaning to the ref a lot, and that's something that's creeped into his game this season. He's moaning at the refs incessantly. He got booked today because of it.
Do you not like that, Jay?
Yeah, but it's all manifested because of what's happening behind him in midfield. Second half, formation changed to the 4-2-3-1, and he's playing in his preferred 10 role. So that 4-2-2 formation cannot work with Bruno on the left wing if Rangnick persists with Max sideways and a thick Brazilian behind him. It can't work. Bruno is going to be isolated game after game. Like he was isolated against a Newcastle, relegation fodder, irrespective of the billions they have. He's been isolated, I think, all season. And unless we sign a proper CDM, and I want to park the Pogba thing for a second, I'll come to it next. Unless we sign a proper CDM to break up that busted sofa for partnership, we are going to see more and more and more abject performances and frustration from Bruno. We are. That's just how it's going to be. And as you pointed out, Jordan, unless Bruno is getting a goal and assist every other game, the FIFA generation of fans had a meltdown on Twitter. I couldn't care what they say. To be perfectly honest, I couldn't care what they say because they don't understand football. They're watching it on one level. Regarding Pogba, Beth, look, the narrative in Pogba all these years has been sign a player to unlock Pogba. That hasn't happened, right? Be you a Pogba fan or not, I would be of the opinion that we sign a proper CDM in January, and we leave Paul Pogba simply as on the bench. We bring Pogba on with 20 minutes to go. If it's not working for Bruno or for Rashford, because Rashford isn't dropped, then you bring on Pogba with 20 minutes to go. Because I don't want to see Pogba starting that team again. He's gone this summer. Seriously, Beth, I don't want to see it.
There's also a shout for Donny van de Beek in there. And as we said, Sancho, he does need the game time. We've said that you want players to embed themselves in the team. We all know we're lacking that chemistry massively. Like, Kev, where does it come for you with chopping and changing this team? Do we need to drop players? Or, like we said, can Rangnick change it completely? Because, we see a lack of chemistry when he plays the second 11 in the young boys game. And today, again, what's that these players have never played with each other before?
That's the worrying thing. He quite simply, right, he said something when he got the Manchester United job that going into the summer, he would like the job himself. He's not just there to, he's there to rip things up. And that was the exciting thing when he's come in. And from what I've seen already, we've seen a glimpse of it against Crystal Palace. But as regards to players, this is ultimately what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the sack for making these same mistakes. So at what point do you actually learn and look and think, well, Fred and McTominay, that's not worked out that well over the last couple of years. Harry Maguire's my captain. He plays every single game. Why not change it? Why not bring in Eric Bailly, who's not done much wrong at Manchester United? Donny van der Beek, never seen him have a single bad game for Manchester United. In the last month or couple of months, I've seen Marcus Rashford had 3 or 4 terrible games. Even Bruno Fernandes, there's players are not seem to be in that team on merit and because they perform. Now, unless, like Jay says, behind closed doors, they're performing like prime Cannavaros or Iniestas or whatever in training, and we're not seeing that.
Doesn't mean anything though, does it?
Yeah, exactly. But out on the field, there's no chemistry, no cohesion. There is absolutely nothing. So he's going to have to change it. If he's true to his word and he's saying that he wants to be Manchester United manager, he would like to stay on from next season and develop this team. But the big one will be this transfer window. I think it'll be very interesting to see if he's given funds and to strengthen part of the team that us on the United Stand have been banging our heads together for the last couple of years. A central defensive midfielder. I still beggars belief, man, that they never did it in the summer. And guys, I think even Jordan agrees. I said Sancho looks a great player, could be a great prospect, and that I just felt that money could have been spelt a hell of a lot better.
I'm starting to question now, though, and Jordan, I'll bring this to you. Is this CDM, right? 100% we do need one. I'm counting down the days until we buy one. I'm not gonna lie, I think it needs to come sooner rather than later, especially with the top 4 race looking a lot more bleak. Other competitions, we really need to throw everything at it. I mean, God, I can't even imagine us playing in the Champions League after watching that performance. But is a CDM going to make the forward line make better runs? Is a CDM going to make Maguire into a better centre half? Is it actually going to solve all the problems like a lot of United fans want to think it is?
It's not going to solve all the problems, but it will solve a lot of the problems. It will add a line of protection to the centre-backs. It'll also give the ability for the person next to the CDM to be able to push on and be that secondary creator, supporting Bruno and the players in front of him, and that transition from midfield and defence to attack, because that is where we're lacking, to be able to hit these teams on the break. So it's not going to solve all of our problems, but it's definitely going to give us a different dimension. You look at all the best teams in the league and in Europe, they've got somebody that sacrifices themselves for the team. We haven't. And us as fans have seen that for the last 18 months. So why haven't the board and the management in charge looked at it and gone, McFred are not good enough, we need to spend the money in this area? And I said on the last show we were on, feels like forever ago, that was the decision that ultimately cost Ollie his job. And if Rangnick's not careful, it's going to cost him the job too.
I agree with you. When I look, for example, today, even for the last God knows how many games we've not had a CDM, you see the centre-backs continuously getting exposed. Today, you saw Varane running out with the ball into the midfield, yet no one else was pushing up. Nobody knows what they're doing because they're not used. They're just not used to play. It's just completely wrong. They're not used to playing with a high line. They're not used to this new system. And Jay, when you look at this new system, for me at the moment, it's not working. I think with the players that we've got, it's too narrow. I think fullbacks, if you're going to go with Dalot and Telles, could potentially get exposed. And I do think when you switch back to the 4-2-3-1, the players look a lot more comfortable. I would like to see that lineup work, but with the players we've currently got, I don't see it working. Would you carry on with this formation, or would you adapt back for the players? And do you think a CDM could make a massive difference with this formation, because it could cover the fullbacks the way that you see a lot of these CDMs for top clubs, like Jordan say, completely cover people's positions, help people out, and sacrifice themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. But no matter who we sign as CDM, be it a Basuma, Sakaria, Calavinga, or Casemiro, who I'd love to get, but we never get, no matter who we sign, the problem still remains. You've got an 80 million liability as centre back that has a turn and speed of an oil tanker. That's cut out for speed time and time and time again. So if you persist with the 4-2-2 with your attacking fullbacks, you still have a slow centre back. And I don't care, even if you have a Casemiro in there, who we're never going to get. It's not going to suddenly make Harry Maguire turn any faster to track back. It's not going to make Harry Maguire play a higher line. I think there's a massive problem there with the centre back pairing. I really do. But no manager has the balls called out. And I don't think Radnick will either, because that signing cost 80 million. The club are not going to sell Maguire for 40 million quid and lose 40 million. So I think no matter who you put in CDM, it's not going to paper over the crack. That is a centre back. I know I keep harping back to it, but that's going to be a legacy issue left by Solskjaer.
I've just seen a comment here, and I completely agree with it. Beth, all teams know when playing against Man U that if you pressure McFred, they will give up the ball. We need a midfield that can dribble through the press and pass through the press as well. And I think that sums it up perfectly. I think you look at our team and it's the instant target. When you pressure them, you then get hospital passes, or you dispossess them, or you allow them to create a foul. And that in a midfield, it's just not acceptable for a top team. I mean, even today against bottom of the league, their midfield, Joe Linton, miles ahead of ours. How long are we going to keep saying that this midfield?
Joe Linton's not even a midfielder, though.
This is what I mean, Jordan.
That's what's
the commentators
so painful.
After the game say, I didn't know you were that good. It's because you're playing against us.
The disrespect. They've sent on a failed striker to play midfield, and he's manhandled us. Like, I can't even...
bottom of the barrel stuff. It is bottom of the barrel stuff. And I look at it and I think to myself, you know what? Thank God he's brought in a sports psychologist, because he's got a lot to do when it comes to mentality, attitude, because this is all part of it. It is all part of it. And Kev, when you look at how many times we were dispossessed, how many times we got the ball and we just instantly give it away. Like it looks like we can't pass to each other. Do you think it's time to just either drop the plays and get plays in that can, or just completely get it back to basics? Because I don't understand, this problem has been going on for so long, how some sort of coach, it doesn't have to be a top class one, any sort of coach can just teach top class footballers how to pass a ball properly and how to beat a press and how to move into positions. It's not mind-blowing stuff when it comes down to it.
The worrying thing is these are millionaire footballers who've played the game all their lives, and they clearly can't carry out an instruction of what they're being asked to do. That's the worrying thing, if anything. As regards to pressing, you put our team under any kind of pressure and that they're not good enough to retain the ball, keep the ball, knock it about. Fred and McTominay, left and right, you can bring up your passing stats or whatever. I think some of them are just lost on players like that. Oh, Fred made 50 passes. Yeah, but what, 2 meters to the side of him, throughout the game. And that's where the Bruno Fernandes stat comes in. I fully understand today that he gives the ball away a hell of a lot of time, but he's a risk taker. He will try and play them balls in, whereas Fred and McTominay won't, and they're just not good enough to play the role. But the worrying thing is, like I say, Rangnick's been here now, and he's obviously asking him to do something. And McTominay and Fred, man, they're just, any team is going to exploit them too. I'm sorry, but when you've got Voldemort there today, just running around with the magic wand out, just making him, it's unbelievable, man, unbelievable.
I mean, you look at the likes of Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips, Basuma, and you think, wow. I mean, I know Declan Rice is a lot of money, but I mean, we spent a lot of money in the summer. And you think to yourself, what could have improved the team? And it is. I mean, I'm excited for the January transfer window. I think that's good. We've got to sign a midfielder. It just has to be done. I think it's going to be massive. But Jordan, going into our next game, Burnley round the corner, if he doesn't get called off, we know Bruno's been dropped because of the yellow card. Yeah. If you're Rangnick in this situation, are you making changes? Are you making a lot of changes? What do you do if you're him in his position now when it comes down to this team?
Beth, he's got to make changes because the Sharks are already circling. He wasn't, he comes to us with a good reputation, but you see what some of these idiotic pundits said about the fact that he's never been to a big club or whatever. He's lined him up to fail. And if he feeds that fire, it will start burning and he won't be able to shut it down. He has to make changes and he has to get us on a winning run to take the pressure off his shoulders. Honestly, already 3 games in, they're already after him. You see it in the comments. Even the fan base is starting to, ask questions.
Rank out was trending.
I know. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. This
So
is the world.
embarrassing.
This is the world we live in. So he has to make changes. I think Bruno being suspended gives him the opportunity to instantly make one change, which for me would be Van de Beek into that team. I think he needs to drop Rashford and bring Cavani into the team as well.
Yeah, Cavani's got to start. And Jay, when you look at that team again, I mean, what are you doing when it comes to the Burnley game? Are you making massive changes? And also, another thing is, I completely agree with one of the comments that I've just seen. You look at likes of Liverpool, likes of Man City, them players, along with the forward players, do not stop running for 1 second. They do not stop making space. They're constantly on the move. They're constantly making their own space. What I've noticed about our players, a lot of the time they close down their own space. And I watched that forward line just all stand in a line and not get back and help out. Surely there's got to be some sort of bollocking when it comes down to work rate and actually getting back and helping out your teammates.
Yeah, that forward line today and against Norwich was very, very static. Rashford, no matter what I say about Rashford, Rashford fans are going to come in at me, but he needs dropping. He needs time on the bench. His best position now, he's spot on. His best position now is 10 minutes to go. Bring him on against a tired fullback, where him having to track back and actually provide a work rate isn't that important. All you got to do, Marcus, run at the fullback. That's all you got to do, Marcus. Very simple. That's it. That's your zone. Stay there. Don't do anything else, because right now you're not capable of it. And we've said in the past, how much has Rashford improved as a player since his debut? I'd argue very, very little. So good fullbacks have figured Marcus Rashford out. Regarding changes, I would be dropping Harry Maguire right now. Gone.
Do you think that Ralph's got it in him to do that? Do you think there's any chance of that?
Time will tell. Time will tell. I drop Harry Maguire. I don't know when Eric Bailly is going to the African Nations Cup, because I don't follow. I have no idea if Eric Bailly is available, and if Victor Lindelof is COVID free come Thursday. I don't know position if it is or not. I would play Lindelof and Bailly. That probably depends on COVID and other factors. Varane, he's not up to speed yet. He's not up to speed. He's not up to speed yet, right? He's just not. But as I said, it's predicated on Definitions Cup, and it's predicated on Lindelof and COVID. So based on that, we're probably most likely stuck with the same centre-half partnership, unless, of course, one of Kevin Ashford's favourite players, Phil Sticknote Jones, is available. Maybe he might come on and do something. We shall see.
We know it's bad we've got to the point where Jay's mentioning Phil Jones. No impossibility of replacing him.
Yeah.
That's how bad we've sunk.
That's how bad we sunk. Yeah. But then, do you know what, guys? How much worse than Harry Maguire played today would Phil Jones actually play? To be discussed. To be discussed. How much worse could Phil Jones do? To be discussed. Then regarding the midfield, my God, choosing Fred or McTominay, it's a conundrum, because you've got two different shades of shit, but you got to put one of them beside Matic. Because it is. That's what it is. Can you clip me up, Ryan? Right now, Ryan, clip me up. So then, Donny surely has to come in for Bruno in the 10, right? Rashford for Cavani, I would agree. Sorry, Cavani for Rashford. I would agree with Jordan there. And then out on the right, I want to see. We used the phrase there earlier on, guys. A word, I should say, chemistry. I want to see that chemistry develop between our right back and a right winger. And right now, I want to see that chemistry develop between Dalot and Sancho. Give them 8, 9, 10 games. If after that it's not working, then make the call. But players with big reputations are undroppable, and we know who they are, and they are playing game in, game out, putting in abysmal performances. So surely a Sancho who cost 73 million and Delo, who I think is a decent enough fullback, he's not a great defender, but going forward he is. So surely they should get time together to develop forge a partnership. That's what I would do.
I agree. I think partnerships need to be formed. I think chemistry massively needs to be worked on. And look who it is right at the end of the show to see us out. Same me, Ashley. Jay, did you see out that masterpiece? We were also getting Coutinho. Saka is the best player in the league. London is red. Do you know what, Zane? You look at how crap we are. We still beat you, didn't we, at Old Trafford? So you know what? That's something to say. So we still beat you, didn't we? So put that into a bit of perspective.
Zane,
anyway, guys,
thanks as always for super chat. Respect. We got to give Zane some credit here. Like he clearly has got more financial resources than any of us have to drop £45 on a super chat regarding his blow at Arsenal. So we got to give him credit in that. But Saka, best player in the league. Zane, wind your neck in, mate.
I've just seen the comment that says Zane has put Goldbridge kids through college.
Oh, Jesus.
Right,
oh
anyway,
my
guys, you know
God.
what? Watching that performance, I was so excited for it as well. And then you watch it and you just feel so depressed, you feel so frustrated. But coming on with you guys, all the comments, it puts you back in a better mood. So thanks for joining me tonight, guys. And Jay, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome as always, Beth. And tonight you got the memo. We both wear the same jersey. I like it.
Exactly.
I like coordination.
We've got match.
You go, girl. I like it. Yeah, you got the memo.
We're in sync. Kev, thank you for being on the show. Hopefully a better result next time at Burnley. We'll have to see.
Fingers crossed, man. There needs to be a savage improvement. That's all I'm going to say. But thank you very much.
I know Ralph really is going to have to wreck it if we're going to get any sort of performance there against them. Do you know what, Burnley? You know, you're worrying about these teams now, aren't you? Anyway, Jordan, thanks for being on the show. Didn't rip me too much tonight. I think you were just related, weren't you? After, don't even mention fantasy.
Just before we go, Beth.
Yes, how did
Bruno?
Everyone get off of that.
How did your free hit go for you, Beth? How did your free hit go for you?
Oh, Jordan.
That's all right. We'll leave it there.
Don't even start. Anyway, guys, thank you for such a good show. And even though we played horrendously, we all cheered each other up, and hopefully the next performance will be better. But thanks for joining us. Leave your comments down below, like and subscribe. Match vlogs coming. I feel sorry for Adam having to go and travel and watch that. But anyway, we'll see you all in a bit.